Revisionist history, yeah. Matador Revisionist history, yeah. All rights reserved. All rights reversed. It's nothing personal. It's just business. Matador Revisionist history, yeah. Matador Revisionist history, yeah.
All right, this is Matt Sweeney, and this is Matador Revisionist History. This is the ultimate episode. This is the Railroad Jerk episode. I'm here with Marcellus Hall and Dave Varenka of Railroad Jerk, and we'll say that in my mind, Railroad Jerk is the quintessential Matador band. So anybody who listens to this podcast with an interest in Matador history, this is kind of the one, because when I think of the Matador days, it's kind of like you guys were the New York Matador band. So
What about Chavez?
now, I was also in a very Matador-y band called Chavez. We had the good fortune of existing at the same time as Railroad Jerk, and the two of us toured together in Europe. And Marcellus Hall, who's also a well-known artist and illustrator, and just is always on point. So I was very excited to get this handed to me from Mars, which is a photo scrapbook from the European tour. So we're going to get into that in a bit.
And what year is that?
This is from 1997, and we're also and we're kind of going to frame this this up as best we can, because it's the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
It's the 30th anniversary of One Track Mind.
Yeah.
Which I rocked quite a bit back in the olden day, and it was really fun. Yeah, nice. Still looks good. It was fun listening to it, man. I first of all, because also I remembered how much I used to fucking listen to it. Like I was like, I know that whole record. It's crazy.
Yeah, we both re-listened to it just recently, right? You did
Yep.
too? Yeah, and I was pleasantly surprised.
What was surprising about it to you?
Well, that it didn't suck. You know, I was like, okay, this is cool. I can handle this.
Yeah.
And the thing about this record for us was that I think it just crystallized. As a band, we came together and coalesced, and suddenly this album just expressed what we wanted at the time.
Yeah, and you were the new guy in the band at the time?
Right, yeah, I was pretty new, and
Dave.
Alec was right before me, so this was the first full length with the new lineup. We had done an EP, so we had a little bit of recording, but we had been working up for the song for a long time as like the new group, and it was really working well, so it was exciting.
It was also an interesting time, because so I grew up in New Jersey, seeing shows in New York a lot, and so I was privy to kind of I was seeing a lot of shows in the late 80s and early 90s, and Railroad Jerk had sort of, by the early 90s, like you were like this New York band, but you were associated with, when I was looking back and seeing who was in the band and stuff, I forgot that you guys were like kind of scary.
Yeah. But we're whatever.
I'll explain. There is this
menacing kind of rock that I was tapping into, like the Birthday Party and stuff like that, whatever, as an influence. And then there was that scene in New York that was, maybe some people called it scum rock.
It was scum rock.
Yes.
And that's true about the beginning of Railroad Jerk. And I kind of look back and I flinch a little bit when I see that, although I'm not disowning it. But then when Dave joined and when others joined in the band at the point where we're talking about, 93, 94, then we sort of shed some of that and embraced beauty, harmony, lyricism, and things like that. I mean, whatever, stuff that I didn't realize was part of music.
Right.
But Dave, opened things up for us. I would I'll point to him and say that was a big help for us too.
Yeah, it was
time
because so the scum rock thing, and it's funny because the only other person that I've talked to who seems to have a similar take that I think we would have is Steve from Pavement, because he also talks about that, because when he came to New York he said he felt really on the outside because he's like, the scene was this scary scene called scum rock, which had some roots in RISD a little bit, kinda, with some of the participants. Would you say
Cop Shoot Cop and Pussy Galore and
and so there's this band Pussy Galore who are I would imagine well known among music nerds. Cop Shoot Cop probably not as much, but it was this really negative, bad attitude, scary music, and
there was the Swans and Fetus and those kind of bands happening in New York that were all part of that mix, I think.
Yes, and it was like like you said, there wasn't a lot of melody. It was definitely anti-beauty, and
post-punk, was it?
Like what, Dave? So how did you know about Railroad Jerk? How did you come into that?
My brother Dan worked at Matador for many years, and had known Mars through Railroad Jerk. I was out of school. My old band broke up, so I was looking for a band. And Dan said, Mars, my friend, is looking for a drummer, and I auditioned.
By the time that Dave Varenka joins, everything really is crystallized. Nobody's wearing oversized shirts. You guys look.
We came into our
I mean,
own.
we were considered like normal-looking dudes for a band, also, right? Like regular.
There was a sort of an anti-image, but it was still a thing.
That's what Matador was about too.
Right.
The whole label was about that.
First of all, Matador was really excited about. They're like, they fucking did it. Railroad Jerk did it. They got this record. I really remember this. They're like, this is like, it sounds like what they're going at. It doesn't sound like anybody else, and it's like, it's a thing, and check it out. And I remember going home and like doing a bong hit, and but really being like, damn, this band, like they didn't sound like this before, but they were hinting at it.
Right. I felt we captured what I had been sort of itching toward or wanting to finally hear. Yeah, we accomplished it somehow.
Or actually the one that on the rate of success.
Oh yeah, what did you expect?
Yeah, what did you expect? Like, I just remember they really jumped out. It was like, well, it's like, how does a dude who's like from RISD and he's in New York with all these scum rock things, what's going on with you making this jump into singing and structure and
well, that was like the secret, whatever. I mean, that the thing I kept hidden, that I loved classic rock and that I loved song structure, and I was busy excavating those early folk forms, and country music was a big deal. At that time, I remember like pushing George Jones like crazy. Maybe after that, I remember pushing George Jones to Steve Malkmus, like, you gotta check out this song. He Stopped Loving Her Today. It's the most amazing song ever.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, those things were in the mix for me, but song structure was always something I respected, I guess. But then I had the modernist sensibility that I was trying to balance with it, I think. Yeah, and then, rap was a big deal at that time, or ascending or whatever, right? And that was fascinating for all of us, I think, because it's not melodic, right? And there's a certain flatness to it, and I loved that as well. And I loved how that was a parallel to some of those folk forms where there's no chorus and it's just a narrative or whatever. Not even a narrative, but a list song or something. So all of that made sense to me, in terms of writing songs. And I thought, here we are in the 90s, and it's ours for the taking. We can do what we want.
Where would you go when you were digging up, when you were trying to find country records and stuff like that?
Lincoln Center Library.
Is that right?
I was going up there, pulling out stuff and learning how to play songs by whatever, like influences, and they would have sheet music. I didn't read sheet music, but I read the chords, and just fumble through things, you know.
Would you take the records out of the library, bring them home?
Yeah.
Did you steal any of them?
No, I didn't.
You returned them?
Yeah. I still return them.
That's so cool. Were these solo missions? Was there anybody else on the scene who was doing this? And were you doing this secretly?
It wasn't a secret, but they were solo missions. I was living at the time with the guys from Cop Shoot Cop. We'd all come from RISD.
When Dave joins, what are you looking for? You know, because again, the band makes this huge shift and crystallized, and everything's. I like how you kind of point out that things were kind of there for the taking. What's that? Yeah, but like things were there for the taking. So
that's true. Yeah.
So like what?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think we knew what we were looking for, but Dave landed in our midst and could drum like amazingly, and it clicked.
I think personalities fit.
Personalities, yeah.
Were you a Beefheart guy back then?
He turned me more on to Beefheart, and I was like, oh, how did I not know all? I know a little, but I was like, the drumming was just right up my alley. So
yeah,
it was like, this should be a good influence to you, and I'd be like, I get it.
Yeah. Because
when I joined the band, he made me a mixtape of like this
weird stuff.
This is great stuff, and listen to these drums. And it really set the tone, and I got it. No, I was like, I can do that. I love it. Syncopation, don't do the normal stuff.
Right.
Throw it off a little bit. Like you put on Devo's version of...
Satisfaction.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah,
the greatest beat ever. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. I'm in.
And that's the thing. He could play it, and he understood it. It wasn't too weird or anything. But the other thing is, we secretly loved the Beatles, and the Beatles were not cool then.
Right.
You know?
Right. And for me, I was looking just to. I need a band, but I was a song guy. I'm like, I love a hook, I love this, and that's the direction he was going with his demos, and I was like, oh, perfect. Like, I liked it even better than the stuff I had heard previously. So, I was like, get to do cool drumming with really good songs. Like, it was exciting.
You guys sing really, really fucking good together, and you went on to develop that a lot. But like, that's another thing that like on the record, the vocals are really, really cool. Like the
that was part of the new
together
sound
singing.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little nerve-wracking too. I was like, I'm not a singer, but
That was the other thing, that like harmony was uncool,
Yeah.
at least in my milieu.
In that circle, yeah.
But I wish I had tapped into it earlier, because I love that. People singing harmony and stuff.
Yeah, and they're like, again, part of that New York milieu, there was, it really, I can't stress how like not fucking fun it was. Like, because there was no harmony allowed, there was like no beauty allowed,
Well, no sense of humor is a big deal too, right?
The humor was really good, but it had to be jet black and mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like cutting, to say the least, I would say.
Yeah.
To your point, there was just like, you felt like you were like maybe some like enjoyable things weren't allowed or something like that, right?
There was some pressure.
Kind of.
I don't know.
Yeah. And like Chavez similarly was this band that like we were doing this thing and it was like rock related and pulling melody and doing things like that, but also like sticking to whatever our own lane was. And because as I recall, the tour was like sort of a Matador tour that Chavez and Brother jerked in, because I guess were our records coming out at the same time?
Yeah, you guys had a big record out too. Like, it was both of them.
It was our second record.
Swan songs or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of
You
like,
guys using melody and harmony and stuff, I remember. And thinking, whoa.
Right.
It's allowed.
Yeah, I know, totally. But it was funny because with the melody and harmony thing, you had to be really smart about it, because you didn't. and I think it was less about like being afraid of people making fun of you, but more just like not wanting for it to be whack.
Yeah.
Because
or too
Commercial.
soft.
too soft or too obvious or like too manipulative, maybe too easy or something like that, or like if you're gonna use this thing, you can't be cheap about it.
Clay's manifesto.
He totally had these manifestos about like earned payoffs, and like you can't just have the payoff. You got to have a whole bunch of tension before the fun thing or like setups and payoffs and all these kind of all these things. And then the other thing about us going on tour was that I think this could be my memory playing tricks on me, but I feel like Matador was particularly liked both of our bands in this way. They were like sort of extra supportive to me. I mean, again, it depends on what lens you're looking at it.
Yeah.
But because I certainly can think of times where I was like, what the fuck? But the overall idea of like them being like, you guys keep on doing this. This should break. This is gonna go. Like you all should go on. Like we're gonna get behind this. Go do it. Go do it. And I remember being like at my most exasperated when it's like, okay, we're out in the middle of fucking nowhere and it feels like this isn't happening. I remember calling it maybe Chris and just being like, maybe you guys should get in the van with us just to see what it's like for 4 days.
You said that to Chris?
Yeah, or just like one is just to see what it's like if the poster doesn't show up, how lonely that feels.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's an interesting thing when a label but I do think that both of our bands were allowed to do exactly what the fuck we wanted to do, and to pursue melody and to pursue these kind of things without the label ever telling us, but the label really wanting it to work, and so like kind of putting us up to it in a way. You know what I mean? And I guess I'm just bringing it up because as a contextual thing that's kind of rare, I think, where
hands off the record.
Yeah, hands off, but like we're going to spend this money on you, but we're going to leave you. We're going to leave the creative thing alone.
Yeah.
But we're going to expect you to tour it.
Yeah.
Like we're going to expect you to go do that element, and like we really think that this is going to sell. Go sell it. You know what I mean? Which is like by going on tour. But like again, what's fucking cool about it now is that we get to. That this music is still in print, this music still exists, this music still has relevance and is still being recognized by the same entity that paid for it in the freaking first place, which is like kind of,
it's cool.
They didn't pay for it in flesh and blood like we did.
Right.
And time, and hopes and dreams.
I have a distinct memory. I mean, there's all three have different memories from that tour in Europe, but I remember, do you remember this as well? Every single sound check, you were practicing finger picking.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, look at you. And you were just like getting at it, and it was cool.
That's interesting.
It was beyond me, but I've since learned I can do rudimentary finger picking.
Dude, how cool is it? It's so much fun.
It's so great. And it's like, that's folk music, right? And it was all beyond me. And then there were even songs that I did with Railroad Jerk or it was White House, I don't know. But where I wanted to finger pick,
but you just couldn't.
And I faked it with a pick, and if I had finger picked, it would have been different. So on this tour, I think both of us knew, or there was just some sense of like, we've been doing this for a minute, and like we know this is good. You know what I mean? Like we know that like I felt like no matter what fucking I just know it is, and there's a sense we were doing, you mean?
Yeah. I just like Railroad Jerk knows they're good. We know that we're good.
Right.
And we were both bands were like not apart really by the time that we developed into what into being really, really good bands. We kind of weren't a part of any scene, really. Like the scum rock scene had disappeared by the time that you guys were doing One Track Mind. We were coming from a bunch of different bands that had all sort of like fallen apart for whatever reason, and actually, just retrospectively, there were bands that sort of were playing with the same kind of stuff that Chavez was playing with, but we didn't know it at the time. You know what I mean? So
that's what's interesting about time passing, I look back and realize, oh, every band at that time, we all thought we were different, but at that time we were all using the same guitar sounds, the same bass sounds, the same everything.
Really?
I'm generalizing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah. Shared aesthetics. Actually, really quick to get into the production. Again, One Track Mind sounds fucking really good. It sounds really good. Does not. I couldn't tell you exactly when. It pulls up a really cool trick, which is that I couldn't tell you when that record was made, yet it's such a product of a unique set of circumstances that could have only happened, I think, in downtown New York, circa, that time.
We can thank Setley Smith. He was the guy who we enlisted to help us co-produce and engineer it, and he was sort of an unknown entity for us. He was a friend of ours. I forget how we met, but he had worked on a Beastie Boys session as an assistant engineer, and that was enough for us. And
right.
We just jumped in.
At that studio where they recorded Ill Communication. And he's like, I think we can record them. We're like, sign us up. It sounds great.
The one up in Midtown or in
28th Street?
Yeah. Was that?
You know it?
I think was it Mario Caldano's? That's where Mario would work. I think Mario Caldano would be there a lot.
But he wasn't with us. Yeah.
You know that name?
Yeah. Because I
it was on 28 East.
And you did the whole record there?
Tin Pan Alley.
Tin Pan Alley. Yeah.
We did it there, and I remember we mixed a little bit at this place on Long Island where like Aerosmith was. Somehow someone recommended for mixing. It was great, and we stayed at my house on Long Island.
Amazing.
Met my family and all that. So that was cool. But yeah, it was Tin Pan Alley.
Okay, well, just the big picture is that Railroad Jerk and Chavez are these two bands that have worked, made records, and are kind of like, okay, we're going to go on tour. Matador wants us to go on tour in Europe. Like somebody said Swan Song earlier. Like both of us, I think, were like wanting this thing. Well, okay, so Chavez was in an interesting position because we'd made our second record. Like we wanted to see how far this band could go, and then by the time that we were ready to do this tour, our bass player was like, "Look, let's get real. I could, I could go make music videos instead," and which like really hurt our band's feeling, the Chavez's feelings that like somebody in the band didn't believe in it enough.
He said, "Let's get real," and your hit single at the time was called
"Unreal Is Here."
Unreal Is Here.
But it was this thing. I don't know. Again, this is just my memory of like we were like, okay, us and Railroad Jerk are going to go to Europe and we're going to fucking see how this goes because we really want this to work, and it's just us. You know what I mean? Like where there's no trend happening right now. Like you know what I mean? Like a wave had sort of crashed a little bit. You know what I mean? Like alternative rock wasn't anything new, and so we go to this tour, and our vote of confidence was that my friend Damon Shea wanted to play bass for us. So we had to do this thing where we would introduce Damon as our guest bass player, like our friend. No, we said this is Horst. We and we said that he was the implications that he was a German drug dealer.
Forgot about that.
Who we had just met the night before, who was filling in, was the vibe, and then he would also breathe fire. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Now that you tell me, I do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Forgot about
Horst.
On stage, he would breathe fire.
He would breathe.
Can't do that anymore.
I know, I can't do that. But it was like it was 97. Is when we toured together.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it says.
Oh,
here.
you're right. Okay, you're right. We had already. I mean, you're right about indie rock sort of having crested. Mm-hmm. I was thinking, this is One Track Mind because One Track Mind was sort of the middle of it.
Yeah,
but then you're right. When we were on tour, it was a little bit after that, and maybe I don't know if it had happened by then, but at the late '90s, suddenly you started hearing about techno and this new music that was threatening our indie rock world.
I mean, that's true. I didn't really think about that, but yeah. That all
The guitar world or whatever.
we could jump into a funny tour story, which is the tour ends in Amsterdam. I remember we played God damn it, was it the Milk Bag or the Paradiso? I can't remember. We played at one that I hadn't played at before, and that one shared the venue that we played had a disco in it. As well, or that had dance music going on.
Right.
Right? And I remember there's this sense of like, I was, and of course I was like 26 or 7, and I was a mess and I was crazy, but very, very easily discouraged. And the poster that first, it said, Railroad Jerk, New York,
Scum Rock
or something, and then it said Chavez for fans of Tool. Yeah, and it's funny because now Tool, everybody just thinks Tool is like this great progressive rock band. Just back then, I don't want to be a dick, but I thought Tool was a big eye roller band that I was like, this band just sounds like King Crimson, and then they've stolen the Quay Brothers videos, and this is just like it wasn't something that I thought that my band sounded anything like was part of any of that universe. So I remember it's this weird night where it's like, Jesus, my band sounds like Tool, and we're being advertised as like a Tool sounding band, and then afterwards we're hanging out with the illustrious Tony Lee, who's Railroad Jerk's bass player, and me and Tony are hanging out, and somebody gives me some ecstasy. Now this is 1997. At the time, ecstasy was like being made in Amsterdam, and it was like the best shit in the world. I don't know if you guys knew this, but at the time, like if you were gonna do drugs, you wanted to be in Amsterdam, and get ecstasy, as it turns out. So, and I think somebody had told me that. I knew that.
Yeah.
And so I get some ecstasy, and I give some to Tony. Now Tony Lee had never done it before.
Oh shit.
Okay. And so Tony and I end up having a great time, and we go to the disco next door, and we hear all this electronic music, and it sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing that had happened was, to your point, somebody had actually made a mix with Chavez and put a Chavez riff in this techno music.
Wow.
And I'm frying, having this amazing time, and being like, oh, maybe this isn't so bad, maybe it's okay that my band sounds like Tool. I don't know, but then Tony went on to become like way into electronic music, and I will take full credit for giving him that drug.
There you go.
Right.
That was it. But I remember Tony just being like, dude, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And Tony was like a rocker, and then he started wearing suits and shit.
You were there. You were a part of it.
It's my fault.
Yeah.
Yes, or rather, not my fault. I will take full credit because Tony had a great time and totally made all this amazing electronic music as a result.
That's true.
Yeah.
We shouldn't forget to mention Alec and Tony during this interview because they're part of the album as well.
Yes. Because Tony sings on some, right?
Well, that's the part of the shift for the band. Also, was that Alec and Tony stepped up to the mic and each contributed a song of their own, and so they had started writing songs, and that added to the album as well. There was, different flavors.
Yeah, Tony's his contribution is earlier on the record, and then Alex is super classic sounding, right?
Yeah.
Like Alex sounds like it's like a 60s. You guys sound like a skiffly.
Yeah, that's true.
Bluesy.
Yeah.
It's really dope. It really sounds great. Yeah. And Tony, I was like, this is fucking Tony. It's got the Jersey edge and it's got a fork in the eye vibe a little bit in the right way.
And it's cool how you're exactly right about those songs, but the album still works as a whole or whatever somehow because we were working as a whole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I don't
think
know.
so.
You're in for a treat listening to this record, I think, because there is this it's such a cool it's young, but it's and all these guys were young guys, but it's also got this real smart getting over your 20s self vibe, and recognizing it, accepting it, and moving into someplace interesting. I think is almost like a lyrical theme even in it. There's really funny lyrics throughout. I think
I thought humor was important.
I thought something that people would, and I don't know if we could successfully do this, but like what do you remember New York being like? Like where'd you live, and what were you up to around the time that record came out? What did New York feel like?
Park Slope.
Was I in Park Slope?
I don't know.
I went from Park Slope to Lower East Side. I was living with your old roommate Eric, and we were on 4th and D back in the day.
4th and D.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. Summer with the windows open. It was just, there was gunshots like the whole night. Like it was no exaggeration.
Yeah.
And then the dope dealing from like the Roberto Clemente school right in the corner. Like it was intense. But it was a great time to be down there. I mean, those, Max Fish every night, man.
Yeah. So then that's the other thing is that both our bands use Max Fish as like a living room, as did lots of other bands too. But everybody would hang out.
That was the best place because there were shows all around town, but you knew if you were there like at 2 a.m., probably everyone would just come.
Everybody would just come.
How was your show? How was that show? That was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and that the Max Fish was also the Matador fucking
Later
bar.
on,
Yeah.
And
then there'd be a movie star there randomly. And
Yeah.
you'd be like, don't notice him, be cool.
Yeah.
But you're super psyched.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Matt Dillon would be chilling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was awesome. And the bartenders, if they knew you, and who was the guy at the door? Some guy at the door who eventually liked our band, so he would let me in front of the line. I felt cool,
Yeah, it was really, really supportive. I remember Mark Moore from Cat Powers saying the best line on one of the trillionth night at Max Fish. He's like, if we had to pay for drinks, we'd be homeless.
Yeah, that really helped.
That's funny.
It was really true. I was like, that's not an exaggeration. Like,
no, and before we knew the bartenders, Mars and I would go to the corner and sneak beer.
Sneak in.
And one time, I forgot they didn't sell the brand, and he's like, we don't sell it. It was like, what? How did that? That is crazy.
That was Max Fish?
Yeah, but then we got to know the bartenders and we get some freebies. But we had no money. We'd have to go to the bodega and just put a couple under the...
pound 40s, but then Max Fish would have these... They were incredibly generous with like whatever I can't remember how that used to work. Every third drink? Remember that used to be a thing?
No.
That was a thing. That there was a buyback. They would call them buybacks, and it was like a rule, like a bar rule, like where you'd get your third drink for free. And then
you had to pay for in the first two. No.
But then the idea was that then you pay for the next two, and
they keep you there,
yeah. And then also these enormous pours, like the biggest pours, the shots that any mixed drink was like. I want to know how you got Alec in the band.
Yeah. I was just emailing him, asking him about that. He was recommended to us by some people, and I think do you know James Cavusi and Bill Berger from Uncle Wiggily?
I mean, I remember those bands, yeah.
And so,
or that band, yeah.
Yeah. James had a recording studio, and we went in to his studio to record the album prior to this one, which was Raise the Plow. not we understand, right? No,
Yeah, we
understand was
understand
at Martin
the EP.
Vesey, right? But anyway, and so at that point we didn't have a guitarist, so we had 2 guest guitarists come in, and then Alec was recommended to us, and so he came in, and he was the perfect bluesy guitar player that somehow clicked with us too, and anyway.
He was so chill too.
And he had great style.
But he would play
Amazing
melodic, quirky riffs that were melodic and perfectly complemented whatever I was playing, and there was anyway.
Yeah, there's this full again that
I'm not trying to blow our horn, but
no, but it's true. The record,
giving ourselves props because it came together.
No, the record's really on the level where everybody's like talking about everybody being in their lane. The guitarists have this real. They're super sympathetic. They're super like one guy. Nobody's stepping on anybody, but also they're freewheeling and fun and and like rhythmically astute. I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I remember too. Also, like I was kind of anti lead guitar.
Right.
So. Maybe that was a common aesthetic, but I couldn't even play a lead anyway, so that's part of it. But and then I would play anti-leads, like I would play shitty leads.
Right.
And sometimes I look back and I'd like, I don't know if that's cool or I think I was making a point at the time. But Alec could really play,
right?
And that complemented whatever shittiness I was doing,
right.
On purpose.
Right. Well, I want to talk about Bang the Drum actually, as far as like anti-climax, because I always the song is so genius because it's like bang the drum and it's
thud.
Right.
We took it way down on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you wrote the song? I've always wanted to ask you this. So when you wrote the song Bang the Drum, was the idea, and then we're going to have the drum not be loud?
Yeah, we thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, so great.
And I remember Matador, you were saying they gave us total control, but the one comment was like, they were like, this could be the single, but you gotta put it up in the mix.
Really?
Chris said that. He's like, it's Bang the Drum. And then we were like, no way. And he's like, all right, I get it. No, but that was the one comment.
Bang the Drum.
Because they were so into it. He's like, because it is really low. They weren't making it like Born in the USA, but he was kind of like, you should boost that a little. It's called Bang the Drum, and it like disappears. And you're like, duh.
That's the whole thing. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I
And
forgot about that.
Hey, in 1994, it was cool, right?
Don't say you need me when you're getting rid of me. Do you know what I know? I saw you with him, son. Black belt, wet dream, loving a friction. I got locked up on a love conviction. Working at a coffee shop, I got myself knocked up. You keep a knocking, but you can't come up. Can I get some? Bang the drum.
Who is letting you out of the box in the video?
Jaiko.
That's Jaiko.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah,
Jaiko Suzuki.
Yeah, the great Jaiko Suzuki, our colleague, and who makes incredible music and
We Wah together.
And yes,
Right, that's her current band. I haven't seen them.
yeah, I haven't seen them either. I watched the clips and anyway, yeah.
So she was a friend, and she agreed to play this role of bikini clad.
Yes.
Whatever. Was she? No, that was the other video, Bang the Drum, where she's.
She's in both videos,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Because I was like, is that Jaiko?
So our video star.
Did you guys have a rep as being this New York band when you were on tour?
Yeah.
And people were like, let's go see what New York's up
But
to.
you too, right?
Kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
it was a certain cachet. It was a currency that you could parlay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For
We're
sure.
from New York.
And maybe a little was like, are you Seattle or are you New York? You know, like
Yeah.
a little bit.
So like with Railroad Jerk, so you're from Minneapolis, you go to art school, you come to New York, but then like the way that you find yourself having to focus, I feel like that's just a New York ass.
Like, do we take on the cloak of New York or something, or
Kind
do
of,
we,
yeah.
or
I mean,
consciously.
I guess I'm just throwing out my observations that about.
I think I did embrace, say to myself, I'm a New Yorker now. And Dave was the only one in the band who could say, I legitimately am a New Yorker because he was born in Queens.
Right.
But,
Right.
but yeah, I don't know. There's that thing about New York that anybody who comes here can decide to either be one or not, right?
Yeah.
And decide who they're going to be.
Yeah. And again, there's something about, I don't know, One Track Mind is like, it's just so New York-esque. It's so like...
I guess so. There's that mix. I mean, because as I was saying, there's all these nods to Americana.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, I was, for me, I'm trying to strike a balance maybe between that and New York cool or whatever it was. And but we would go on tour, right? And people would always say like, I don't get it. Like, you're playing this country music or whatever. That's how they might term it. And then they would say, but you're from New York. As if it was wrong or
right.
contradiction or something. But I think that was part of the plan anyway.
I think so
contradiction.
Too. Yeah.
And I also felt like if I'm an American, which many of us are, then we have the rights. We can. It's ours for the taking. The idea of Americana, whatever music that America produces, it's okay. You know, we can take on the myth of it.
Yeah.
Which is to me was fun to play with.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like I'm going to play blues, but I'm going to allude to the blues, or I'm going to whatever, you know, even with the lyrics or something.
You just weren't. You didn't sound like other bands. I suppose you were a Matador band. You couldn't like. I guess the Matador sound was like they sound like themselves, ideally, or something like that, or is like a point of view.
There's a smartness about Matador, right? I mean, I guess we can get into the weeds about this stuff, but
yeah, but then also. It was, there was a sense then, it was interesting because it was like, well, what is this Matador thing? There's definitely this point of view. The band sort of seemed that. What's that?
Ask Chris and Joe.
I know, well, and that's the thing, because they were making these choices because they were like, well, we think this band's awesome.
Yeah.
They, as far as I know, never considered it, the commerciality of it was like, non-existent. I think I never ever heard them talk about like this is going to be big. It was just like, well, this is awesome,
right?
And then when it would blow up, they'd be like, whoa, you know, like and be like, well, yeah, of course, it's awesome, but like, whoa, that's crazy,
yeah.
You know, like, and again, that was an interesting time because again, it's after Seattle was the thing that blew up, you know what I mean, and then Matador was like having. I guess the easiest way to put it is that Matador had a bunch of big bands and none of them sounded like each other. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And every time a new band would happen, it's like, is this band gonna be big? You know, like you know what I mean? Like in the case of Chavez, I felt like there was no way that we were gonna be big. like I was like,
really?
Yeah, totally. I never had any delusion. I remember being really, really grateful that we could be on Matador and be in the company of all these other bands that I thought were great, and like. We definitely had a healthy pessimism. I remember Clay was like, we're not underground, we're just unpopular.
That's good. That's cooler.
So on our tour, an amazing thing happened, which was Alec and Tony were riding in our van, and then you and Dave had rented a car.
Yeah.
We didn't separately rent it, but the number of people necessitated that we get a car.
That's right. We had a car and a van.
A van, yeah.
That's right. That's how it worked. Okay. I was telling my girlfriend the setup, and I was trying to remember how it came to pass.
We were trying to remember earlier too.
Yeah. But an amazing tour memory was we were in the middle of a slog, and a bunch of shows hadn't been well attended and everything, but everybody was a little kind of fried, and I'm like depressed because we don't have our bass player, and it's like
winter.
Weather was bad.
Yeah.
And then you pick it up from here.
And that's actually the van was filled with smokers, and you were one of them, right?
Big time.
So me and Dave were kind of like, oh,
that's right.
Nice. We'll sit in the car.
Yeah, we'll sit in the smokeless car.
And we had this German tour manager guy, driver. He wasn't the manager, he was the driver. The other guy, the Irish guy, was the...
We had Chris, or English. No, we had Alan?
Alan and Kurt.
Maybe, okay.
Kurt was our driver.
Oh, Kurt, yeah, I'm sorry,
Alan.
I'm conflating tours. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, we're all headed, all of us are headed to Ljubljana, Slovenia to do a show, and for some reason we weren't driving near each other in the van. You guys had gone to a certain border checkpoint, and we had gone to another one, and you guys went to the wrong one, and the papers were not there. The Slovenian government, which was a new country at the time,
That's right.
did not have your papers, and so
I couldn't get them.
Yeah, they were like,
Yeah.
you can't come in, and you guys were like, what? I don't know. I want to hear your side of the story. But me and Dave, we just sailed on through, and we ended up in Ljubljana, and we're sitting there backstage drinking beers, and the promoter's there, and the crowd is coming in, and she's like freaking out.
And we're just like, what do you know?
We don't know. And I think then a phone call came in, and we found out that you guys had not made it into the country. So the promoter was freaking out, and it just so happened that Dave and I had recorded the new White Hassle album recently at that time.
And then 97?
Right, yeah, we had just recorded it or something. So we were.
And White Hassle is these guys as a duo.
Yeah, which
with even more vocals, more singing,
and more stripped down. And
more Americana, I guess.
Yeah,
country, yeah.
But so yeah, you should talk a little bit about how you assembled your drum kit that night.
I was gonna say, how did you have a guitar? Because I think my regular drums were in the van.
I think I had my guitar with me.
Right, so I had to put together, I just was like, do you guys have any pots and pans kind of
For
thing?
real?
From the club. I don't think I had any of the real drums.
No,
I think
they got a drum kit
sticks,
for
too.
you, and then part of his shtick with White Hassle was to play metal pieces and clang.
Oh, right.
Right. So we told the promoter that, can we raid your kitchen, and they pulled out some things, or with a junkyard or whatever. Anyway, we had the most amazing night. We played a great show, and the crowd loved us, even though they missed you guys and Railroad Jerk.
There's a lot of people.
No, you guys
Sorry,
you guys fully had. Okay, so we don't get into the country.
Right.
We're in the smoking van. It's been shitty. It's raining. We don't know what's happened to those guys. What we did is somehow we looked at the map and we were like, well, we could actually conceivably go to Venice.
Yeah.
And it was February or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, by the way, this is February tour in Europe. It's like bleak and gray and all this shit. And so we went to Venice. Tony, as I recall, I don't know if Tony went with us to Venice. Tony was bummed. Alec was chill. Tony was super bummed just that he missed the show.
Yeah.
So the whole question was like, well, what happened to those guys? You know, like how did it go? And, you know, like everything's all fucked. You know, and then so we go to Venice, and it was funny. We went to Harry's bar, I think, and got Bellinis, and then left. And then we go back to wherever we were staying. And we all meet up. And I remember when you guys show up, you have this like sheepish.
Yeah.
Like, we had the best time. It was so clear that the highlight of the tour had happened.
I think we tried to be like, oh, you guys didn't miss anything.
No, I was like,
and then we were just like
yeah,
smirking.
no, you couldn't stop smiling.
We gotta come to show sold out.
Yeah.
You know, I met a friend that night. We had the best weed ever.
Yeah.
And the best meal. Like, it really, we stayed in some person's mansion. You know, it was just like, sorry, dudes. Slovenia is amazing.
And it was Slovenia too, so the people were really eager to hear some New York rock.
They're down,
more than the other countries, you know.
Right.
So we delivered. That was a fluke.
Yeah, no, the audience loved it, and I just remember one drunk guy yelled something like, "Where's the rest of the band?" or blah blah blah. And I used the Steve Martin joke. I was like, I remember when I had my first beer.
Right.
Huge laugh, yeah. And then they were pointing at that guy, and I was just like,
This is great.
like, yeah.
Right. That wouldn't have gone over in the States.
Slovenia was hot stuff.
Yeah.
Bonus things, because I got the email from Malcolm, but so there's all this, there's bonus stuff that I haven't gotten to listen to yet.
Matador said to me 3 months ago, hey, we're going to do this anniversary for One Track Mind. Do you have any ephemera, demos, early recordings, unreleased tracks? And I was in the middle of illustrating a children's book, and I felt a little pressured, and I grabbed some stuff, and I brought some VHS tapes over here to the office, and I brought some 4-track tapes, cassette tapes of 4 tracks, and we digitized them and listened back, and then I had to. That's what it is. So then Matador said, and I didn't realize this, but Matador wants to, or he's going to, or when this is released, will have released this bonus album, a digital bonus album that coincides with the reissue of One Track Mind digitally. And so this is a bunch of it's about 15 tracks of me sitting in my bedroom demoing Bang the Drum, for example, or the band playing live at Brownies in an acoustic form, or us doing some crazy cover, or me doing a crazy cover at home. So that's what it is. It's
all surrounding that time period.
Exactly, all from that time. But it was weird to, I'll admit that it was weird for me to pull up this stuff and then release it, or it never was meant to be released. So it's a little...
Are you under protest?
No, I'm just saying, like, is it worth releasing this? Do people care? Is shed light on something? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what it's worth. But,
well, I'm psyched.
But I would like people to check it out and see what they think.
Sick. Question from Malcolm Donaldson. What happened when he asked you if Railroad Jerk was going to reunite for a show?
I was in the office here at Matador, and they asked me if we were going to consider a reunion show, and I said I don't think so. I think only if there was a demand and if somebody had dangled some money in front of us, then we would consider it. And then I got on my bike and left the office, and some middle-aged guy with a beard and long hair was crossing the street, and he looks at me and he points at me and he goes, "Hey man, Railroad Jerk reunion."
You're fucking kidding. That's so cool.
I didn't. Yeah. So despite what he says, I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but...
What else you got?
Nothing.
Oh, I got a question for you.
Yeah?
Be totally honest.
Okay.
Who were you more nervous to interview, us or Keith Richards? It's close, right?
It's close.
I mean, we're pretty intimidating.
I'd say it's a toss-up. It's just it's equal. The stakes of humiliation are always there. You know, and I think that I successfully made an ass of myself in both interviews. I want to thank the great and incredibly influential on my life Railroad Jerk. We have half of them here. We have Dave Varenka, we have Marcellus Hall, and thanks for coming down to the Matador offices and for talking about the past, because I, for one, don't love talking about the past, but I do love records, and I do like the way that time can be cheated by music, and so thank you for making One Track Mind, and I'm very excited that it's going to get out there again and that we're doing this push. So
thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to Matador and everyone and for reissuing it and having us here.
I wrote some lyrics to a beautiful girl, but she spat them out on her plate. I scraped them up and I rearranged them. I served them again, but they were refused. I figured on the best and I went back to town.